So maybe at this point we can open up for some discussion, and the team is very keen to receive challenges as well as comments and suggestions. Yes, I mean challenges are also contributive to knowledge building. Yes.
I hate to pursuing this line, but maybe I related more to Kristine's earlier work. So I think that this discussion about the direct work, so about data analysis, whether it's face-to-face or computer-based directed, we really like the idea about it has to be theoretically grounded. So there, I think you mentioned about the theoretical assumption, which drives our research question analysis. So Jingen also mentioned about the controversies at one point in time about people who go for the argumentation or explanation framework. So I think it is something worth inquiring. I think that maybe I don't know whether Chris would like to comment on. I think that even in your example, you do look at explanation and argumentation. I even think that these kind of moves, or they really interact in a way. So I don't know whether it is. So I mean, I'm just commenting on whether we hear the main thrust on argumentation marker, more argument, longer thread, or whether, how do you think about, but I understand the theoretical assumption of knowledge building as, well, based on earlier works, more based on explanation, so, but I want to know more about the explanation, argumentation, relation, and I know you're published on that, or, yeah, so I don't know.
Well, I could make a short comment, in the same way that Nancy asks, is there knowledge building going on in the knowledge forum? And it may not be the case always. In the same way you can ask, when you do argumentation, is there knowledge building? And there isn't always knowledge building with argumentation either, because the question that you need to ask is, well, what is the nature of the argumentation? And the nature of an explanation, because argumentation and explanation are closely related. That's one of the results that we came to, is that we had explanations, but they were argumentatively oriented, because the explanations were being given in order to convince other participants of a certain viewpoint. So it's not always easy to distinguish between explanations and argumentation. You need to look into the whole interactional context. And as far as being able to say whether argumentation is something that is going towards knowledge building, well, I would say that the type of argumentation that I'm interested in and the type of argumentation that I try to get students to engage in is definitely going towards knowledge building. It's an integral part of knowledge building for me because, for example, argumentation helps students to disentangle notions that are posing a problem for them. If they don't agree on some aspect of a problem-solving situation, well, maybe it's because they don't have the same definition for a certain term, and that's stopping them from going forward in the problem resolution. So they need to discuss that, and they need to understand, well, what do you think about this, and what do I think about it, and can we come to a consensus so we can move forward in resolving the problem? And that kind of argumentative discourse is really important for knowledge building and really integral to knowledge building, I would argue. And that's just one example of how argumentation can be important, and there are a lot of examples that we could cite in the literature. So that's kind of a short answer too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say that I agree with that. I mean, I definitely see a role for argumentation in the field that I present over the last many years, and a lot of it has to do with things like, for example, students having already explained something to others, and feeling that others are not providing the information, or they're not moving in a direction where to move forward from that. So then taking another tack or bringing it back to someone to try and promote this idea basically, or saying something like, okay, conversation with the other person talking about the same idea that this person is talking about. ability to try and gain some support for ideas that are out there that are not just part of the explanations per se. So it's already understood by some people in the community, but it hasn't made impact on the community yet. So I think those kind of things, I think setting goals and finding out what's going to be important for the community to work on, and like all of those kind of things are very argumentative. And they are like that in science as well. But, so I think that's where I see the potential for argumentation as an analytical framework to be very useful. So the question is whether or not what we see so far is going to focus on that.
Well, actually, we are looking at augmentation or the scaffolding in knowledge form. When you're asking, is that knowledge building in knowledge form? Then I would say knowledge form is an environment which the didactic and the principles of knowledge building is embedded. So you would expect that there would be much more support for knowledge building than in other environments like Blackboard or discussion boards. So I think it's a more interesting question if it's more knowledge building than in other environments. So that we have an insight if we are going on the good direction, using arguments, or using more scaffolds, are we using the right support, that people are not if they have the highest level of knowledge building, but if they are supported enough to go towards the knowledge building, I think. And that's a bit, well, in a lot of the research we are only looking at the knowledge form, and actually we should look at knowledge form and other environments if they are doing better, I think.
But you know,
And that's actually what Kristine was saying.
yeah, I know what
The
you
control
mean.
group, maybe.
Well, I mean, that's not really. I mean, I don't tend to do experimental design because to me it's also. I mean, I have an ethical problem with experimental design as well. And I agree. I mean, I do believe that the platform design does matter. So that's why we've chosen to work with Knowledge Forum. It does matter. But I think that's not the only factor. And I think the pedagogical design and the context, the teacher facilitation, I mean, all that matters. And so it's actually futile in a way to think about, comparison.
But that's
Exactly.
the answer. When we are working with knowledge form, it's not only working with knowledge form, we are also working with
Teachers.
in groups and with teachers. And actually in the whole context you see a kind of knowledge building and knowledge creation. Sometimes there's even more knowledge creation talk in face-to-face conversations than in the knowledge form. But it is stimulated by the way they are working with knowledge form.
That's why comparison is difficult, because you're in a different context with a different tool, and of course it'll be different.